Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Barb Bacon, and I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. If I had my buttons on today, it would be, let's get some gun control. I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing this. Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel. And let's have equal rights for everybody.
Hello, this is Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Christian Cano. You're the co-host. My buttons are Moms and Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it. Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Christian Cano with the Coffee and Pan Dulce Show, along with one of my co-hosts, Jenny Gunn with the Coffee and Pan Dulce Show. Listen, we took a little time out today. We decided this was something very important we wanted to do, mainly because of the recent op-ed that was published in the Charlotte Observer. We actually live in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the Charlotte Observer did an op-ed about the dangers of Republican Dan Bishop, or MAGA Republican Dan Bishop, who's running for Attorney General in our state. And Jenny and I, that I know of, we've never done this, not only for our show, but we've supported other candidates. We've never taken time actually to make sure that we can warn people who are voting with just a couple of days about this candidate, because he really, really is dangerous. So I'm going to let Jenny talk a little bit, but the reason we wanted to do this is because there is a race here in North Carolina for Attorney General. It's a very, very important seat, as Attorney Generals are in all states. Jenny and I are both born in Texas, where I know Jenny says that's her birthplace. I'm native Texan in Tejano as well. So we have firsthand knowledge and experience of the dangers of a rogue and outrageous and just MAGA Attorney General like Ken Paxton in Texas, and that's what I think the fear is. So, Jenny, tell me what you believe and what we should be concerned about Dan Bishop, who's running here in the state of North Carolina for Attorney General.
Well, I mean, first of all, we got to look at, anytime you're choosing, between political candidates, you always got to look at their history. And Dan Bishop Bathroom Dan Bishop is had a history of discrimination against the LGBT community. He made sure that North Carolina was one of the last states to implement marriage equality. In fact, I think it was the last state. I believe it was the 49th or the 50th state to enact that, and in 2015. And then, of course, the world famous anti-trans bathroom bill
he
authored and championed in 2016 that cost North Carolina not only billions of dollars worth of business, but tons of government contracts and all kinds of other, because it created a bad image. And as somebody that is applying for a job as a chief law enforcement officer, essentially what an attorney general is they do two functions. They make sure civil regulations are obeyed and that the consumers out there are protected in many different ways, but also with criminal infractions, including, corporate malfeasance, many other things that governmental agencies do when you have a person that has a problematic history towards one
Sure.
population, whether it's people of color, whether it is an ethnicity or religious bigotry or xenophobia, you got to worry, because I have to compare and contrast him to the current reigning Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton.
Yeah.
That Bishop has said, I definitely would pattern myself after him. So let's look at Ken
Exactly.
Paxton, for example. Is that in the last few years, he instructed the Child Welfare Services, or the CPS of Texas, to target families with transgender children, to take the children away that was considered child abuse, for medically, including talk therapy and any form of that. He has invaded transgender people's privacy by suing to get the records of transgender people, not only in the state of Texas, but in other states as well. And the most heinous and most recent one is he's ordered the Department of Public Safety not to honor court-ordered, judge-mandated name and gender marker changes, which is against the Constitution of Texas, and it's against the Title VIII of the federal law. And so these are direct violations of the law. So you're talking about a candidate here now in North Carolina that is saying, I want to go by the Texas model. Well, the Texas model, and Ken Paxton's targeted other groups, and he's shown
exactly.
a
The Catholic Church
of racism, of homophobia,
he's been indicted for criminal charges.
This guy has not had a healthy record.
Exactly.
And I don't know how he keeps his job, but he does. But we definitely don't need that repeat, because if people will realize that 70% of the people in North Carolina were against the bathroom bill, because it doesn't make sense. You don't need a bathroom police.
Sure.
We're all grown ass adults. And that legacy and that stink stood on Texas for a long time. That's the opposite of freedom. If you want freedom, but also want safety, the one person you don't want in charge is a MAGA Republican mouth breather like Dan Bishop. He is specifically patterning himself after a criminal level attorney general, the Attorney General of Texas, which has been one of the most heinous violators of Texas constitutional law and many other obligations, including going against the judiciary themselves.
Exactly. I want to piggyback on something you said real quickly, Jen, and thank you for kind of bringing all this up. I know the Attorney General race here in North Carolina hasn't been a very high profile one. It's been about the governor, Mark Robinson, and Josh Stein, and also the crazy woman running for superintendent, who's a homeschooler who doesn't believe in who believes Satan is coming into schools, and it's she's crazy. We got to vote her out. Mo Green is the Democratic candidate. Hopefully he can come in and save us from craziness, so to speak, from the Moms for Liberty kind of crazy group of people. But Dan Bishop, all you have to do, and don't take our word for it, all you have to do is Google Dan Bishop. Dan Bishop has had connections with white supremacists back when he was running for Congress in 2017, 2018. He had invested in social media group Gab, and then said, "Oh, I didn't know it was a white supremacist group," but has never called white supremacist groups out. When the Charleston situation happened, he didn't have the decency to say what happened was wrong. He did what Trump said and basically said, well, the Black Lives Matter people were also there. It's kind of like, how white supremacists kind of.
There's a lot of whataboutisms with the Republican Party or the MAGA Party is that their hypocrisy knows no limits. And when you put somebody as your chief law enforcer, in a position where they already have a compromised ethics and have a pattern of having fealty to certain types of groups and certain types of less than common sense, less than freedom loving people that want to, enter your bedroom. They want to know what you're doing in your bedroom. And
tell parents how they should raise their children.
They're exactly literally trying to interfere with parents' rights, with education, with all the things. The people
businesses' rights,
about freedom. Typically are the ones that are trying to take it away from specific people. And we've seen that throughout history, whether it was segregation, whether it was the really stupid idea of having whites only bathrooms and just stupid stuff. Like this has happened in the North Carolina before, but we definitely don't need somebody that is supposed to be enforcing the law and protecting the public, attacking parts of the public.
Excellent point. And exactly the point. One of the things I want to encourage everyone to, like I said, don't, and you and I say this all the time on your show and on the show that we both co-host, don't take our word for it. Look it up yourself. Yeah. Ask Republicans who know Dan Bishop. You can Google. There are a lot of Republicans who really hold their breath with Dan Bishop because he is very litigious. He threatened to sue. I was the 2016 North Carolina Democratic nominee for Congress and ran for Congress in 2016 against Robert Pittenger. And I really respected Robert. I didn't like Robert Pittenger's policies, but I respected him as an individual. He shook hands when he won. I went to his victory party. I didn't go to his victory party, but wish him congratulations. We spoke with each other when Mark Harris ran, even though I'm totally on the other side of the fence policy-wise. I congratulated Mark Harris. And actually, when Dan Bishop won the Congress the first time, I also congratulated him as well, because I didn't realize he was going to be as crazy as he ended up turning out to be. But one of the things that Paige Maston on the Charlotte Observer did today on her op-ed, she detailed all of the things that could be in danger here in North Carolina. A lot of people, like my family, and I'm sure yours as well, Jenny, moved to North Carolina because it was not a crazy state, and Dan Bishop would turn North Carolina into a crazy state. He would go after schools. He would go after people he doesn't like. He would be unchecked. He would go after Bank of America, Wells Fargo.
Or a company like... Hey, y'all, thanks for watching the Florida shows. They've been wildly successful. Obviously, it's a topic that you guys have enjoyed and wanted to know more of. And we like talking about the dumpster fire that used to be the state of Florida. And we'll probably talk about it some more this summer. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for watching.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget, you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll dance out.
Apple that's building $1 billion campus in the research triangle, and because they have DEI policies and their CEO is LGBT, is that when you see they're gonna target that because that's what other attorney generals that are Republican have done, and they target companies to the point to where the companies end up not expanding as much, because when a company like Apple Computers goes to expand, they'll expand their existing campuses first. So, they create 3, 4, 5, 6,000 jobs, high-paying, high-wage jobs, but they're also very progressive, and it doesn't align with the politics of the MAGA crowd. They try to legislate through lawsuits, and you contrast that with a Jeff Jackson that has always had a history of fairness. If you look at Jeff Jackson's record as a military officer, as a prosecuting attorney, he believes
in the rule of law. He believes in honor.
He's common sense. He may not be everybody's cup of tea at all times. But all in all, I can tell you, is with personal interactions and also the way he handles himself, you definitely. He's a decent human being. He doesn't target anybody. He doesn't admonish anybody. He doesn't it's all he runs from a space of common sense. And if you listen to his reels and his TikToks, you talk about how he shows a sign of respect against his coworkers in the Congress right now, and despite the clown show that is the Republican Party in the House of Representatives, he still very much shows a very respectful tone, because he realizes you can be adversaries and still be respectful, be a decent human being. And Jeff Jackson chooses to be a decent human being. He goes by the Michelle Obama's philosophy: when they go low, we go high. And
Well,
that's who you
but
want,
that's
is the even-tempered, common sense attorney general that will protect us from predatory practices.
like Roy Cooper
And,
was, like Josh Stein was.
yeah,
Exactly.
in the
Yeah.
same vein of two wildly successful attorney generals, they not only created a good, safe environment for its citizens, but also protected the business community in North Carolina, the students in North Carolina, and goes by the rule of law and common sense. And that's what you want in that job, because that is a job that can affect your daily life from Jump Street. It is the most dangerous job to hand over to an unhinged person that doesn't have
Texas is an example.
Such as Dan Bishop, that has had a history of making bad decisions and positions of power, versus a Jeff Jackson that, no matter what you think about him personally, he's never had an unhinged personality. He's always had an even keeled temper. He's always approached his job. Every job he's had has come from a space of common sense and horse sense that you develop from the military and the very honorable careers that he's had.
Sure, that's an excellent point, Jenny, and is what I always say. I think unfortunately, if Dan Bishop were to sneak in, which I hope, gosh forbid, if that happened, we all need to get out there and make sure this is of all the elections. To me personally, this is a really, because my family lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. It would be very challenging for us to have an attorney general who is constantly trying to sue the existence of my family, the existence of things that. We're not the crazy state. He would make us into the crazy state. Our financial industry would be afraid to do things because Dan Bishop would try to sue them like Ken Paxton has. Ken Paxton has sued Catholic churches. He would sue Catholic churches here. If they even have suggested being decent to immigrants or things like that. And one other thing I just kind of want to talk about real quickly, is we want to end up kind of on a positive note as we're talking about this. One of the reasons why I think it's important for us to get out and support Jeff Jackson during this time period is, I have not always supported Jeff Jackson for the jobs he's applied for. I've always had questions. When he ran for Senate, I supported Erica Smith. I thought she was better qualified at the time. But in this position, he's proven himself to be a really good congressperson. He's not he's not like Dan Bishop, who became part of what I call the trash squad. He hang around with MTG, Matt Gaetz, Laura Boebert, Matthew. People kind of forget Dan Bishop was part of the Matthew. What was the one who the wheelchair guy?
Madison Cawthorn.
Yeah, they were all really good buddies.
Right.
Dan Bishop was one of the leading persons who ousted their own Speaker of the House. And this Dan Bishop is a chaos-driven person. Look at his history when he was county commissioner. He thrives off of chaos. He thrives off of being considered like he's the savior for individuals. So that's a big concern. But as far as Jeff Jackson, I really do believe Jeff Jackson has shown himself to be a mature, very level-headed, very capable individual. Most importantly is what we say all the time: he's not a dick.
Yeah. Well, he's a sane, rational adult. I met him in the first few months when I moved to 2018, and I've had all positive interactions with the man, and I know that he's supported many communities in Charlotte, and not just the LGBT community, but all communities. And he shows up for events, and he shows up for his home state, and most of all, he's always had a pattern of making good decisions and behaving himself as such. He's never been in any scandals. He's never been in anything that actually you would make him question his decision making on the job. And I think that's very important. And Dan Bishop has had a very dubious career at best. He's made some very damaging decisions in North Carolina for his own personal gain, his own personal feelings. And you don't want somebody. You want a guy like Jeff Jackson in that job. He would do not only a phenomenal job and represent our state on the national level well when you're talking about interacting with other attorney generals, but as we see, attorney generals wouldn't be embarrassed. One day sometimes end up running for the president of the United States, as we do with Vice President Harris.
Good point.
And she showed leadership in the Senate because of her days as a prosecutor and an AG of California. And we look at her as there's probably one of the best vice presidents and one of the most consequential vice presidents at guiding us out of a pandemic, multiple wars, and things of that nature, and a level-headedness that comes with the job of being an AG, that you need a rational adult. One of the things that Harris did that I know Jeff Jackson would do is when they were about to settle for the Great Recession bank scandal, she made sure that the people of California and the multiple states that were affected by that got the proper settlement they deserved. And Jeff Jackson is that same kind of person that we know in our heart of hearts would advocate. And we know that Dan Bishop would not. And we know that Dan Bishop would bend at the knee for corporate overlords that control the MAGA party, the Republican Party. We know Jeff Jackson would protect the people as he defended the country when he was deployed overseas. We know he's a social justice warrior that's going to put the people of North Carolina, and that's who puts him in office. It's you and I. It's our neighbors. It's our loved ones. If you're going to put somebody in a job with that great responsibility, when push comes to shove, Jeff Jackson's going to do the right thing.
Excellent point, Jenny. And I know we talked off camera right before we decided to record this, that we didn't want to talk about what the backstory was about Dan Bishop and why he is so homophobic. And why he is so.
And it's Googleable.
Just Google him. Just ask anybody who went to high school with him at South Mech. Just ask anybody who lives in South Charlotte in my neighborhoods or whatever. Well, but Jeff Jackson
between the two men is really obvious. If anybody has any sense at all, I don't care which party you're registered with. What we don't want is bad representation in one of the most important jobs and functions of government that you can put somebody to that has a lot of responsibility and a lot of power. You definitely want somebody in there that's level-headed that represents all.
That's an excellent point. What we're going to do is when we drop this, we're not going to drop it on one of our shows because this is something that we decided to do personally. As citizens, as neighbors, as voters. We really wanted to kind of help educate. If you want to watch one of our shows, we always welcome you to watch them. They all drop on Wednesdays and on all your platforms, but also we got some other ones coming out in 2025. But with this specific video, we're going to drop the link to the Charlotte Observer op-ed page. It's very educational. I was really appreciative of them taking the time to doing it. We're also going to, I also have created a couple of websites that we're going to post this on. We're going to post this on stopthestupid.us. We're also going to post this on bathroomdan.net as well. So if we want to really educate people on what the danger is if you live in North Carolina. If Dan Bishop gets elected, just look at Texas. Just look at the chaos. Just look at all of that that's going on. And as Jenny said, there are two people sitting in front of us applying for a job. You've got one guy who has a history of chaos, history of just negative, derogatory things about people in my family and myself and people, our existence. And then you got another guy who says, I want to be here to protect people in the state of North Carolina.
To me, that's a lifetime of public service. And as somebody that is the daughter and granddaughter of people that served in wartime, I have the most respect for families and for the service men and women that have laid it all on the line in the call of duty, which there's no higher honor and no more important calling than what Jeff has done. And Jeff has proven to be a phenomenal leader. Every time that he's done a job, he's done it right. And that's what you want.
Good point. Excellent. Good point. I think we've said what we needed to say. Thank you for, and if you have a chance, watch us on our shows every Wednesday. Yes. This is not about our show, but watch us. Jenny has a great show and we co-host another show. So most importantly, Jenny's been saying this all year round. Get out to vote. There's probably a couple more days here in North Carolina for early voting. If you're not registered to vote, you can actually register at early voting in North Carolina, which is basically what we're talking about this race, and then also come out to vote. You can help Jeff in many ways. You can donate to his campaign. You can educate your neighbors, if you live in North Carolina, about the importance of the Attorney General race. If you're a woman, oh my God, this is an incredibly important race. If you're a LGBTQ plus community, this is very, very important. If you're just a decent human being, this is important as well.
Well, if you got any loved ones in any minority or affected groups, if you're a woman, if you are LGBT, if you're a racial minority, if you are a member of a union, if you're if you're in the service industry, if you're in any kind of job that could be affected by by Dan Bishop going after those type of companies, whether it's
Exactly.
Apple Computer, whether it's Bank of America, big
Wells Fargo.
employers, Wells Fargo.
Credit Karma.
You like what
Gosh.
you got,
Yep.
and you think somebody could not like it because of maybe the optics or the politics of it, be rest assured a person like Dan Bishop will come after it. And that's the last thing you want to do, is have your whole life turned upside down because of an aggressive MAGA activist and terrorist. And the political party has had a history of going after minority groups and affected groups.
Good point. All right. Thank you all. Get out to vote. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Kristen. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15, 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye. Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds
You
great.
sounded like a telenova. I mean,
I'm trying to. All I have to say is go. Yes.
as a non-Spanish speaker.